Good morning, and I'm going to start off by showing you this. This is the Restream dashboard, and I'm confused. Okay, now of course, now it says online.
There's an extra camera.
For the last
Is it over there? It's over there.
Extra. Oh, there is an extra camera. I can get rid of that. That's the emergency backup camera from back in the day. So, and now everything looks like it's working right. We were confused. I was confused for a minute there. This monitor still says there's 0 people watching, but I can see you people talking, so it's wrong.
Yep.
Oh, goody gumdrops. So we're going to talk about mostly AOC this morning. So, actually, Cam, can you kind of give us the summary of how AOC tried to kill the Jews?
Well, AOC, let's see. By the way, good morning, Steve. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Megan. Good morning, Danny. And good morning, Thomas. So AOC tried to kill the Jews by virtue signaling about why the Iron Dome is a bad thing that we shouldn't vote for. You know, it's amazing how the left is willing to spend money on, like, everything and to vote for spending money on everything unless it's something that might actually have a chance of success. Like, they got no problem cutting military funding, despite the fact that the American military just whoops all the ass. And then,
well, it used to.
Well, we still could. It's just that whole thing about the projection of power and how modern politicians don't have the stomach for that.
Yeah, when I joined the Army, we were already complaining about the newer, gentler Bush resultant weak-ass military shit that was threatening to drag everything. And now we've got Disney cartoons with LGBT princesses. And my Army is dying.
I know. It's sad. So, anyhow, and speaking of things like that, you remember when Obama was like...
Speaking of things like that, good morning, Danny!
Oh, pretty cartoons? Okay, I love it. That's well played. Well played. But, like, remember Obama cut the funding to NASA?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a note. There's a show we should do right there. Obama cut NASA. Result, more space stuff.
I know, and that's almost the thing I wanted to go for with Meme War Monday, is all the memes being passed around from lefties about trickle-down doesn't work, instead they build spaceships with it, and it's like, oh, you dumb shitburgers, who do you think they paid to build the fucking spaceships? Anyhow.
Was it people?
Probably.
Hey!
I mean, that's my guess. Anyhow. No, but... So AOC totally didn't want funding to go for the Iron Dome, and... which will result in dead civilians. Let's be clear. Like, Palestine has no problem targeting schools and hospitals and synagogues. In fact, one could even say that's their preference. Okay? So... yeah. And then, I honestly don't know terribly much about this. I know that the vote happened, and it was like 350 to 2 or something like that, and AOC cried.
It was 240 to 9, and AOC cried because Todd Brown says, I don't support funding Israel's Iron Dome either. So, I am deeply conflicted on the funding of the Iron Dome. Israel's an ally currently beset not by just any old dangerous enemy, but Palestine, who is the actual threat against whom the Iron Dome was erected, is actively and admitted, like, it's part of the charter. The Palestinians elected the terrorist death cult Hamas, whose charter is kill all the Jews. And I'm sure that's going to get clipped out of context somewhere, but that's that is what Hamas is doing. That's what Hamas wants to do, is to exterminate all of the Jewish people from planet Earth. By the way, that's everybody else too. But specifically, they're interested in getting rid of the Jews. And so when you look at something like this, where AOC and the squad made an overt overture to defund, to disarm our ally, and Todd makes the statement, seems like Israel isn't the greatest friend to have sometimes.
We're not
Israel is the best friend that we have in the Middle East, and that's a complex statement, because the Middle East is full of people who are evil. And I won't relitigate this intensely and deeply, but just to relate a quick story that I've related before, that some of you have heard and some of you haven't. While I was serving overseas, no, Todd, I'm with you, brother, and I know this is a tricky issue, because on a very deep level, if I had my way, I would end all foreign aid, period. We would not spend a dime outside of the U.S. other than on trade that was profitable, until there were no more potholes and all of the infrastructure was correctly fixed.
And we were funding NASA?
And we were... No. Why would we fund NASA? That would be like funding government cheese so you could have more McDonald's.
Hey, I like McDonald's.
Exactly. So why would you want to government fund them out of existence? Right? So, yes, I would end all government funding, all foreign funding, period. I would not start with defunding the defense capabilities of our allies in active war zones. That is not where I would begin pulling that money back. I would probably begin pulling it back from things like Pakistani gender studies and large expenditures on studying the effects of inebriates and barbiturates on sex workers in China. I might start there.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing you have to keep in mind when you're looking at something like this, an active maneuver to defund an ally who is at threat from our enemies, right? Remember, Palestine is not just an enemy of Israel. They are an enemy of the United States as well.
Well, they're an enemy of Western liberalism, period,
yes.
Full stop.
Yes.
Like, the Enlightenment is not a positive thing for them.
So even if you make the argument, and I'm not saying that it's not a reasonable argument, that Israel is not the best ally to have in the Middle East, the fact is that they are an ally, and everybody else, with very few exceptions over there, are enemies. And even the allies that, a lot of the allies that we pretend to have, like Afghanistan's a perfect example. We saw what happened there. We left Afghanistan, and immediately the Taliban took back over. I've had to have this conversation and explain it to my soldiers in the past. Most Americans don't understand that the difference between a group like ISIS, Al Qaeda, and the Taliban. Al Qaeda is like BLM or Antifa. They are a small terrorist group, whereas they're a small ideologically bent group that uses terrorism as their primary tactic for political change, just like BLM or the KKK. Then you look at a group like ISIS. ISIS was a non-territorially specific paranational organization. ISIS had its own currency, publications, government infrastructure. It was very much a government in the sense of what it was bureaucratically and tactically and functionally. But then you look at the Taliban. The Taliban came out of the Mujahideen in the Middle East, in Afghanistan, as a result of our interference to begin with, by the way, and in the 90s became the legitimized recognized by everybody, including the U.S., legitimate national government, the federal government of Afghanistan. And when we went into Afghanistan hunting Al Qaeda terrorists in the early 2000s, we deposed that government because that government was friendly to our enemies. We deposed the Afghan national government, the Taliban, and the government itself went into hiding in Pakistan and a few other terror-friendly host nations. And then we made treaties and alliances with a new government in Afghanistan, and helped them to establish an Afghan national army controlled by the new government, which we installed to replace the Taliban. And I personally met dozens of officers who would say things like, "Yeah, I've been in the army for 20 years." Okay, this was in 2010 and 2011. So if somebody tells me in 2010, 2011 that they've been in the Afghanistan army for 20 years, like they're not even hiding it, that means that you were Taliban. You were literally Taliban 10 years ago. So what happened when Biden pulled the troops out of Afghanistan? The Taliban didn't come in and take over. They were already there. They were just wearing a different uniform and biding their time until we left. The majority of the upper echelon, the higher order of battle and the higher administrative control systems was always and never stopped being actually the Taliban. They didn't have to take over. They were already there. All they had to do was wait for Trader Joe's big yard sale and call it a day.
Yeah,
it's Trader Joe's, TRAITOR.
I got it. I bet our audience did too.
I hope so, because I'm not looking for a pina colada with Vic today, but my hair is on point.
Okay, so AOC.
He'll rip your lungs out, Jim.
AOC.
So AOC broke down crying because her buddies in Palestine don't get to kill all the Jews.
With babies. Or the hospitals.
Yep. No brown baby bodies for AOC in the squad. And, I found it funny. She broke down crying because her vote failed 240-9. So there's another little piece of interest that we need to talk about there as well. 240-9.
Aren't there like 300-something people in Congress? How do you get such a weird number? It's like 353, something like that?
I don't even know what it is right now. It just changed because of the new census. Anyway. It was a big vote. She got voted right slap the hell down. And, well, she voted present.
Wait, she voted present?
Yeah, she didn't vote for this thing.
You got to be fucking kidding me. She voted present.
She voted present. No. She didn't vote for the Iron Dome. She didn't vote against the Iron Dome.
No. Oh, okay. All right.
Steve mentions the Graveyard of Empires. Yes.
Pete.
We're not gonna go off on that tangent right now, but
Steve also says that people vote present, so it isn't added in. So you had dozens of members of Congress vote present, so the vote's not added in.
Correct.
So there's a whole bunch of them that said, "I ain't touching this issue." Cowards.
Yeah. And I think, do we have it? Oh, we do. Oh, the shame.
I like how the caption on this says "Cry more, lib," but
that's what she does, right?
Yeah,
remember her crying at the border, and it turned, it's like, oh, she's crying at the border.
It turned out she was crying at like a parking lot,
some random parking lot, nowhere near the border. And you know why she was nowhere near the border, right?
I mean, there's a dozen.
Because she's terrified of all the scary brown people.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And Danny points out that it's 435 members of Congress. I was getting the 535 number from the Electoral College. So I was adding in the 100 senators.
And Danny, it was 435. I think that went... I'm not sure. It either went up a little bit or the distribution changed because of the last Senate. Census.
You mean because people keep leaving California?
Yeah. Well, not just California. California lost 2 or 3. Danny says it was 420 to 9. I transposed 2 numbers. I said 240 to 9. Yeah, 420 to 9. I should have been able to remember 420. That's a good number.
No, you shouldn't be able to remember 420 if you're doing it right.
Yeah, well.
Anyhow. So.
Okay, Danny says. Anyway.
On topic.
But it's not just California and New York are both moving to Texas.
Yeah, and
which is bad.
Yeah, for Texas.
You know how we know it's bad for Texas? Because Dan Crenshaw voted for red flag laws.
That's a whole nother one.
And I want to burn the state down over that.
We'll have to get back around to that later. Just quick aside, if you move away from a liberal shithole to a place like Texas, don't vote for the liberal shithole in Texas. Or, I don't know, a state like Georgia.
Yeah, if you move to Georgia to, I don't know, pursue a film career, make a bunch of Marvel movies.
There's a reason why you film those
Georgia
here.
was the kind of place you wanted to move to make those movies. Because it hadn't been ruined by your shitbaggery. You stupid commie twats.
Anyhow, so AOC fake cried again. And over what kind of an issue? We got the whole thing with Israel and Palestine and...
Oh, those poor little brown babies. They're gonna live.
Well, you got the whole thing with Israel and Palestine, and the crux of the argument is that Israel is illegitimate because basically they acquired all their territory through dubious treaties and war. So they're like every other country on the planet.
Literally all of them.
Yes. Like, there's no such thing as a state without violence, right? Like, that's just seems to point to the country that exists.
Like even Hawaii at one point had more than the one flavor of native. And then some of them died. Somehow.
To a Kamehameha wave.
I'm sure it had nothing to do with the big bone axes carved from whale ribs. Which are super dope. I need to hang one of those on the wall.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, but just to really hammer this point home, Israel is no more or less legitimate than any other country, and I forget who said this, and it's something that really needs to be taken into consideration. Even if everything about the foundation of Israel was illegitimate, they exist now, right? You can't pretend like they don't exist.
Correct.
You can't pretend like there's not millions of people who would be affected. Like, if you just made Israel go... It's not like there aren't millions of people who'd be affected by that. And Netanyahu came to the U.S. and made a speech before Congress that I think... And he made a brilliant point, and he did this during the Obama administration, by the way, which I still think is kind of chuckly. Netanyahu talked about things like building democracies in the Middle East. Well, there's at least one country that's already a functioning democracy, Israel. So you want Muslims to have religious freedom and tolerance in the Middle East? Well, there's at least one country where Muslims have religious tolerance and freedom in the Middle East, and that is, in fact, Israel.
Yeah, because don't get confused on this. We've seen in the Muslim majority countries, if you give them the vote, they will vote for an Islamic caliphate. And once they vote for that Islamic caliphate, right? We've seen this with the difference between the Wahhabis and the Pashtuns and the Uyghurs, right? Once an Islamic caliphate is established as the ruling party in a nation, in an Islamic nation, the others, the heretics, as it were, they're on borrowed time. On absolute borrowed time.
Well, yeah. I mean, vote the dictator in, but you have to shoot the dictator out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's...
Yeah, you can vote your way into communism, but you have to shoot your way out of it.
Right. Right. That's why 3 guys named Kim have ruled North Korea for like 60 years now.
I'm going to give that one to Steve. Netanyahu's the most fun foreign leader to say since Desmond Tutu.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Oh.
And then we'll just do a quick plug here because Danny Pitt says Larry Cox had a killer show last night, called out the Board of Education from This Week in Rockdale. Hey, if you're local in Georgia, go check that out. Larry's running that ship now, so.
Here, I'll get you a link over there for that.
Man, she voted present. So she started out by voting no, and then voted present.
Yeah, that's kind of the scuttlebutt. I don't know that we have any hard evidence on that, but I think where we are with that is that she said she was going to vote no, and then suddenly voted present.
So Todd makes an interesting point that we're doing the exact same thing with regard to our voting, letting people in who will vote America out of existence. There will always be a space on the map referred to as America. That will likely always exist. But will it be recognizable as what you and I would refer to as America? That's a hell of a thing. Maybe not.
Yeah, and Todd, I agree with you entirely on that. That's that a little more depth on that conversation will make for a good another show, maybe a Taco Tuesday.
And hey, look, but there's no way that could possibly happen if we continue to have the most safe and secure and fortified elections of all time.
Yeah. So I think we're pretty much done with this topic. So let's wrap up with a little bit of housekeeping. I just want to mention that the Arizona audit results came out last week.
Arizona had an audit?
Hey, what do you know? And the findings in that audit are
fine,
simultaneously shocking and unsurprising. It's kind of like how I knew Obama was going to be bad, but he surprised me with how bad he actually was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I knew Trump was going to be awesome, but I was legitimately surprised by how awesome he was.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
So the
entire planet voted for Joe Biden. It's fine.
He actually has the interspecies vote on a lot.
Yeah, literally, frogs voted for Joe Biden.
Literally, frogs voted.
After the water turned them gay.
You're turning the frogs gay!
Let's get serious on this.
So,
boy, we just referenced so many other conservative YouTubers.
Dude, Alex Jones was on Tim Pool the other day, and he starts going on about, oh yeah, Washington totally knew all about the Illuminati, and Jefferson was running the Illuminati trying to take over the Masons, and then Jefferson went to France, and this other guy wrote a letter to Washington, and Washington wrote a letter back to the other guy, and he was all like, yeah, I know about the Illuminati, but I'm not worried about them right now because I'm busy with all this other stuff with these guys. And it's just like this tirade of what sounds like just wild tinfoil hat conspiracy nonsense. And then all of us, Tim's sitting there at his computer, and all of a sudden he says, shit, how is this true? No, I've got the letter. It's filed with. There's 13 letters from Washington about the Illuminati in the Library of Congress. How is this true? And I don't remember the guy's name, but there's this other guy sitting in the studio with him, and he just starts screaming, "Alex Jones is always right!" And I was dying. If y'all haven't seen the latest Alex Jones Goes on Tim Pool, then do yourselves a favor. Go watch at least the first 10 or 15 minutes of it.
Yeah, it is bizarre how the older I get, the more right Alex Jones becomes. Like, that's...
Well, I mean, as soon as As soon as Epstein didn't kill himself, I mean,
yeah, that broke me.
It
did.
As soon as I heard that, I was in for the tinfoil hat and no shit, Clockwork Elves. Let's do this.
You know, it's funny we say tinfoil hat, but it's actually aluminum foil now.
It is.
But that doesn't roll off the tongue the same way.
It doesn't.
Hey, are we going to potentially do an extremely fortified show on everything?
Yes, we are going to fortify
YouTube?
the shit out of the show that we do on everything except for YouTube and Facebook. So, y'all, keep an eye on Rumble. Keep an eye on Rumble, Odyssey, and all those alternative platforms, PocketNet. And what we'll do, once we release that show, we will plug it here. I'll share links on Twitter and Facebook, and I'll drop a link to it in the description of one of our videos this week so that you can find it more easily. But keep it, if you haven't already, go look us up on Rumble and Odyssey and subscribe to us there. Because that's where we're going to put the stuff where we're going to talk about things that YouTube doesn't like. And I hope to eventually just go to those platforms and leave YouTube behind. That would be ideal. But that's kind of where we are right now. Our primary audience, our biggest bulk of audience is still on YouTube. And we'll...
So in the meantime, like, share, subscribe, please, and thank you.
Help us grow this channel, and the more we can grow this channel, the more people we can help off this channel. And that's all I've got.
Yeah. Hey, was this vote in Congress, like, all fortified? Was it the best vote about Israel ever, the most safe and secure?
Demographics
is destiny. You know what? That's actually, we can't go into that at the end of the show. We can't.
Yeah,
we can't.
What the hell, demography? You know what? You need to come back tomorrow when it's Taco Tuesday, and we have a more related conversation, right? Come back and check us out tomorrow. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've been in a bit of a valley with the subscriptions lately, so go ahead and hit that button, and we'll see you tomorrow. By the way, demography, I'm totally going to ask if your name is Mario. I know it's not, but it's a joke that somebody else that watches this show will appreciate. See you tomorrow. Okay, one last caveat. Steve points out, yes, we start at 7:30. You know, in theory.